Hello, I'm R.A. Spratt, and I want to welcome people joining us this week on the Yoto podcast platform. Now, just so you know, most of the bedtime stories I tell here are standalone stories. But over the last year, we have been dipping in and out of the epic story of Odysseus, the hero from ancient Greek mythology. And this week, I'm going to be telling the second last installment of that tale. So if you can jump in right here, that'll be fine. I'm sure you'll pick it all up. But if you did want to go back to the beginning and start from the first episode, you can search back through the episodes. The first episode's called Odysseus, as told by Nanny Piggins, and it dropped on January 8th, 2025. Or you can go back and listen to any of the other episodes. You're going to find fairy tales, myths, legends, and mysteries. I hope you enjoy them all. Now let's get into it. Hello and welcome to Bedtime Stories with me, R.A. Spratt. All right. Well, it's absolutely gorgeous here in Barrel. I'm looking out my window and it's a beautiful blue sunny day. I'm going to do a lot of gardening today, but it's the middle of the day now and it's too hot to be out there. So I thought I'd come in and record my podcast. All right. So someone asked for me to do something about the Louvre Heist. You know, there was the heist at the Louvre Museum in Paris. I think it was the 20th of October. And I set a whole Friday Barnes book in Paris and specifically at the Louvre. It's all about Friday, pretending to be an art student at the Louvre, trying to investigate a crime there. And there is a heist at the end. And it's similar to the real heist that happened in October. This is a low-tech heist. Because I've obviously written quite a lot of Friday Barnes books now that are about art crime. So I do a lot of research about art crime. So I know quite a bit about how to rob art galleries. And there's lots of different ways, but it is surprising some of the really low-tech, simple things people do to get around security systems. So I came up with this ploy that the thieves use in this book. The actual heist happens towards the end of the book because obviously it's the climax. So I'm going to read it to you. Hopefully, it's sort of, when you just take it out of context, it's not going to spoil anything in the book for you because the mystery is like who's doing the heist and how they came to do the heist. And there's a lot of backstory. So I think if you like the story, go ahead and get the book. It's Friday Barnes' Last Chance, book number 11 in the Friday Barnes series. And you can, fill in all the blanks. But this is kind of fun just as an action sequence, the bit where the actual heist takes place. All right, so let's get into it. So I'm going to be reading to you from chapter 18 and into chapter 19. And this chapter is called Chaos. Here we go. Oh, I should explain. So just so you know physically where they are at the point where I'm starting. So Friday is in the basement of the Louvre because right down the Louvre is the building of the Louvre. 2/3 of it are underground, and they've got some very, very heavy exhibits like stone statues from the Middle East, Egypt and Persia and places like that. So they're all right down the bottom of the gallery because they're so heavy they wouldn't be able to be supported on anything other than the earth. So that's the room that they're in at this point. And they've just escaped. They got locked into a room with the Sphinx, Friday and her friends. So they've just broken out of that and Friday is now with Ian. Okay, that's all you need to know. Let's get into it. "We've got to get out of here," said Ian. "But what's happening?" asked Friday. "Shots have been fired up on the first floor," said Ian. "We need to leave now." "But the first floor, that's where the Mona Lisa is displayed," said Friday. "Not anymore," said Ian. "It was taken out of its case to be moved to the forensic laboratory at 8:45. Friday glanced at her watch. "That was 5 minutes ago." Ian nodded. "Oh no," said Friday. "That's it." "What?" said Ian. "The reason for the hoax," said Friday. "Starting the rumour about the authenticity of the Mona Lisa. It was all staged to make that one thing happen. To get the Mona Lisa taken out of her protective case so it would be easier to steal." "Oh no," said Ian. "And Bernie's responsible. He's the one who's been trying to make this happen." Friday nodded. "The thieves got him to do the hard part for them. We've got to help." "No, this is serious now," said Ian, grabbing her hand. "This isn't for us to deal with." "I've got to help Uncle Bernie," said Friday. "You can't help him. You can't outsmart a gun," said Ian. "Of course you can," said Friday. You get everyone else out of here. I'm going to go and help Bernie. Friday took off running down the corridor. You'd better go with her, Melanie told Ian. It'll take her about 30 seconds to get lost. Will you be all right to get out? Asked Ian. If there are armed criminals running about upstairs, said Melanie, maybe we should just stay here out of the way. They're not going to come down here and try to steal a 15-ton Sphinx. OK, said Ian. Stay safe. He took off running after Friday. When he caught up with her in the Islamic art gallery, she was already lost, not knowing which way to turn. Where are you trying to get to? Asked Ian. The Mona Lisa, said Friday. We can't let it be stolen. Then we need to get back to the main atrium so we can take the east staircase, said Ian. This way. He turned to the staircase on the right and they hurried up it together. As they emerged into the next gallery, they found panicking tourists rushing towards the exits. Friday was almost knocked off her feet when a large German backpacker slammed into her. Entschuldigung, he muttered while hurrying away. Friday and Ian went with the flow of people till they spilled out into the huge marble lobby. Security guards had thrown open emergency doors. The crowds were hurrying up the stairs and escalators, which had been switched off so they could be used as stairs, and out into the big open courtyard above. We've got to stop the thieves before they get here, said Friday. With all the security exits thrown open, it'll be much easier for them to escape. Suddenly, there was yelling from the floor above. Too late, said Ian. Out of the way! Move! Get out of the way! Let us through! The men were yelling angrily from the top of the main staircase. Ian grabbed Friday's hand and drew her over to the side of the room. A gang of 10 people bustled down the stairs. They were dressed in blue boiler suits and black ski masks. They hustled through the lobby in a tightly packed group, like a rugby scrum. They were protecting something in the centre of their group and forcing their way through the crowd by shoving and yelling until everyone got out of their way. They've got it, said Friday. They've got the Mona Lisa. Stop right there! Agent Okeke bellowed out. She was standing at the base of the escalators and she was blocking their escape route. She was a small woman, but she wore her rage like a force field. It was as if she could repel attack with the sheer force of her personality. Move! Yelled one of the thieves. Put down the painting! Demanded Agent Okeke. Get out of the way! Ordered the lead thief. No! Put down the painting! Repeated Agent Okeke. Just then there was a commotion coming from the floor above. Put down your weapons! Barked Uncle Bernie. He was hustling down the east staircase into the lobby, a team of security guards with him. We've got to get out of here. The thieves were starting to panic. She won't shoot us in here. Too many hard surfaces. The bullet would ricochet, said their leader. Just knock her down. The largest of the thieves was just about to smash the butt of his weapon into Agent Okeke's head when there was more yelling, this time from the top of the escalators. More security guards were coming. We're not going to get out this way, said the leader. Plan B. The thieves took off running again, this time across the lobby. They're heading for the metro, said Friday. They'll get on a train. Bernie ran after the thieves while bellowing orders into his phone. Close down the metro! Now! He yelled. Close off the entrance! Stop the trains! Ian and Friday hurried after him. A tunnel connected the main atrium of the Louvre to the underground metro station. They passed out of the museum and into another open area that housed the entrance to the metro station, as well as a restaurant, a chocolate shop and a department store called Printemps. A cluster of befuddled security guards were blocking the entrance to the metro. They'd pulled across a steel grate. There was no way the thieves could get past them, not with Uncle Bernie and the Louvre security team close on their heels. The thieves had to improvise. They kept running straight ahead and into the department store, where, in true Parisian style, they started to throw together an improvised barricade. The front of the department store featured perfumes and designer handbags. The thieves brought all the shelving holding the displays crashing down across the entrance to stop the security teams from following them inside. When Uncle Bernie tried to rush the improvised barricade, the thieves threw bottles of perfume at him until he staggered back. Perfume doesn't sound like a dangerous weapon, but Chanel No. 5 comes in a square bottle, and he'd been hit in the eye by the corner of one. He'd also had a whole bottle of Yves Saint Laurent's Rive Gauche smash on his head, so his hair smelled fabulous, but in an eye-wateringly strong way. Stop! Stop! Cried a Metro police officer, running over to block Uncle Bernie and the Louvre security guards. You have no jurisdiction here. This is a metro station. Louvre security has no authority. Bernie pulled out his badge. I'm Interpol. Well, then you're not even French, said the police officer. You definitely have no authority. This is a siege situation. The protocol is we must wait for the counter-terrorism team to arrive. This isn't terrorism, it's art theft, argued Bernie. Armed criminals in the metro is always treated as terrorism, said the metro officer. That's protocol. How long will it take? Asked Bernie. Headquarters is just the other side of the river, said the police officer. With traffic at this hour, he glanced at his watch. Perhaps 10 minutes, maybe 15. Longer if an expert negotiator is not on site. Bernie looked into the department store. He was stricken. They have the Mona Lisa! They could damage it at any time! It could be damaged already, said Friday. Oh, pursuing this investigation has made us accomplices, said Uncle Bernie in despair. We can't just stand here and do nothing. He stepped forward. What are you doing? Demanded the Metro officer. I'm opening negotiations, said Bernie. You're not qualified, said the Metro officer. I'll improvise, said Bernie. He turned and yelled at the department store. You've been cornered! There's no way out! You're in an underground room! There is only one exit, and we're blocking that escape route. Give up now! We don't want this situation to get worse! There was a pause as they waited to see how the thieves would respond. Bernie turned. They're considering it. Suddenly, a barrage of perfume bottles flew out of the store. One hit Bernie on the back of the head, another in the middle of his back. The others smashed on the marble floor. Hey, that hurt, protested Bernie. It's really starting to stink, said Friday, holding her nose. Perfume is nice in small quantities, a milliliter or so dabbed on your wrist, but to have several litres of it, and in competing fragrances pooling on the floor, the smell was so intense it was literally starting to affect their vision. Stay back, one of the thieves called from inside the store. We'll cut a chunk off the Mona Lisa if you come any closer. No, cried Bernie, don't do that. Don't make this situation worse for yourselves. Right now, you've just stolen the painting. If you damage it too, that will make things much more serious. They've done way more than steal a painting, said Friday. There's been armed robbery, intimidation, fraud, threats with deadly weapons, property damage to the Louvre, and thousands of euros worth of perfume destroyed. Terrorism too, said Agent Okeke. Shh, said Bernie. We're trying to reassure them, not frighten them more. We could just shoot them, said Agent Okeke. That will give them second thoughts about doing this sort of thing again. You missed the day they taught negotiation and de-escalation at the academy, didn't you? Said Uncle Bernie. We want a helicopter to the airport, yelled the leader from the other side of the barricade, and a plane to meet us there with a pilot and enough fuel to go anywhere in Europe. I can't authorise that, yelled Bernie. Then get someone who can, the leader yelled back. We're not leaving here till there's a helicopter in the Tuileries garden waiting for us. They'll never let you on a helicopter without handing over the Mona Lisa, said Uncle Bernie. We'll hand it over once we're at the airport, safely on the jet, said the thief. Oh, I'll make some phone calls, said Bernie. This'll take a while. You've got 30 minutes, called the leader. Every 10 minutes you take beyond that, I'll cut a piece off the painting. Oh, this is bad, said Uncle Bernie. This is really bad. I told you should wait for the proper negotiator, said the Metro officer. This is all going in my report. They're here, one of the security guards called out. The counter-terrorism squad. They've just pulled up outside. It took a couple more minutes for the heavily armed squad to make their way downstairs into the metro station. The lead negotiator was wearing a more formal version of the police uniform. The main difference was he was carrying less weaponry. He also had a strangely crooked nose. Ugh, said Agent Okeke. You know him? Asked Friday. He's my old boss, said Agent Okeke with a sneer. Oh, the one whose nose you broke? Asked Friday. Nose and cheekbone, said Agent Okeke with a note of satisfaction. As the negotiator strode over to Bernie, he reached out with his hand. The phone, he said. Give it to me. The phone, said Bernie. The one that you're using to speak to the subject, said the negotiator. Oh, we're not, said Bernie. We've just been yelling to them over the barricade. The negotiator sighed and shook his head. When we seek to de-escalate, we do not yell. He snapped his fingers at a junior officer behind him who was carrying an open laptop and tapping on the keyboard. Have we triangulated their communication? Yes, there are 10 active phones within the store, said the technician. You see, said the negotiator, this is how it's done. We're going to calm everything down. We're going to slow everything down. We're going to lower our volume. He spoke again to his assistant. Call one of the phones for me. The assistant took out a phone and dialed a number from his screen. It's ringing. The negotiator snapped his fingers again, and the assistant passed the device to him. I don't know a lot about being rude, Friday whispered to Ian, but I do know it's rude to snap your fingers at someone. That's why he's doing it, muttered Ian. He wants to be rude. He's asserting authority by forcing subservience. And how is that helping? Asked Friday. I think at the moment his main goal is humiliating Bernie, said Ian. Shouldn't he be focusing on getting the Mona Lisa back? Said Friday. Police officers are public bureaucrats, said Ian. With guns, said Friday. Yes, but essentially bureaucrats, said Ian. For them, getting the Mona Lisa back would be nice, but their main concern is not getting into trouble if they don't get it back. That's the reason that making Bernie look like a fool is so important right now, in case things go badly later. Oh dear, said Friday. Making Bernie look like a fool is so easy. He does give off buffoonish energy, agreed Ian. He's usually good at making that work for him, getting others to underestimate him, but in this situation, it could go pear-shaped. Suddenly, the phone stopped ringing as someone on the other end picked up. Yes, said the voice on the phone. Now the negotiator was all purring reassurance. Hello, this is Vincent Pierre of the Paris Prefecture de Police. I am a negotiator. It is my job to talk to you and reach an arrangement whereby nobody gets hurt and the Mona Lisa is returned undamaged. There was a pause. You have 23 minutes to bring me my helicopter, said the thief. I've already negotiated with the bearded buffoon in the lobby. If the helicopter is not in the Tuileries garden in 23 minutes, I will cut the nose off the Mona Lisa. Monsieur Barnes was not in a position to offer such a thing, said the negotiator. He is just part of the security team for the Louvre. It will take more than 23 minutes to make this arrangement. We need more time. Do you know what the main chemical ingredient is in Chanel No. 5? Asked the thief. Said the negotiator. Ethanol, whispered Friday. Most commercial perfumes are 80 to 90% ethanol. Ethanol, the negotiator said into the phone. Very good, said the thief. Ethanol, the same substance we use in fuel for cars. It's a type of alcohol, like cleaning alcohol. You can get stains out of so many things because it's a strong substance that dissolves oil. Paint is made of oil. Now, can you imagine what effect it would have if I poured a bottle of perfume that is 90% ethanol over an oil painting? Don't do that, said the negotiator. Exactly, said the thief. You don't want me to do that. So you will hang up on this call now and get to work arranging my helicopter. The line went dead. This is all your fault, the negotiator turned on Bernie. You made promises you couldn't keep. I did not, said Bernie. They made demands I couldn't keep. Which is why you had no business opening negotiations, said the negotiator. This isn't an intellectual exercise, said Bernie. This is a real-time situation where my officers and civilians have been threatened by highly organised criminals carrying guns. I took action because the situation required it. Can I just punch him? Asked Agent Okeke. What's she doing here? Demanded the negotiator in alarm as he suddenly noticed his former employee. Her job, said Uncle Bernie. You're more of a danger here than they are, the negotiator accused Bernie. You took action because you're a thoughtless buffoon. Stop, cried Friday. What, said Bernie. Why are there even children here, demanded the negotiator. Because these children are two of Interpol's top consultants, said Bernie. The negotiator rolled his eyes and made a scoffing noise. This does not surprise me. Interpol will be taking recruits from Clown College next. For a negotiator, you really have terrible interpersonal skills, said Ian. All of you stop bickering, said Friday. Can you feel that? Friday was standing in the middle of the lobby, the same as everyone else. She wasn't reaching out and touching anything, so no one understood what she meant. Has the child gone insane? Asked the negotiator. That child is smarter than you, me, and anyone else in this room, said Bernie. So how about you tais-toi and listen to her? Under our feet, said Friday. Can you feel that? Everyone looked at their feet. It's vibrating, said Bernie. Huh? Said the negotiator. It's just the metro trains. They cause this vibration. Didn't you stop the metro? Said Friday. Yes, said Bernie. It was the first thing I did. The metro officers know the procedure. If there's an alarm at the Louvre, all trains are stopped until we give the all clear. So what's causing the vibration? Said Friday. Street works above, said the metro officer. There is no street above us, said Friday. We're directly below the Tuileries garden. Bernie crouched down and put his hand on the floor. But someone must be using a power tool. Someone in there, said Friday, pointing in the department store. They're cutting through the floor. They're getting out, said Bernie. Friday had already taken off running towards the barricade. Ian was close on her heels. Stop her, called the negotiator. The counter-terrorism officers hesitated. They weren't sure how. They couldn't shoot two teenagers, but they weren't sure if they were supposed to storm the barricades themselves. One officer pulled out his taser and fired it at Friday. But a taser dart does not travel as fast as a bullet. Friday had been at the top of the barricade, standing on a pile of display shelves, when he pulled the trigger, but in the next instant she tripped over the strap of a $10,000 handbag and tumbled headfirst into the store. Ian lunged forward to see if she was all right, and the taser hit him in the back instead. Said Ian, as he convulsed on the wreckage of the designer display. Ian! Cried Uncle Bernie, rushing forward to help his stepson. I'm going to be in so much trouble with his mum. It's all right, mumbled Ian. Check on Friday. Bernie peered over the barricade. This is a siege situation, yelled the negotiator. I forbid you to interfere further. Uncle Bernie ignored him. Friday, he called out. He couldn't see his niece anywhere. Back here, called Friday from the far side of the store. Don't go in there, said the negotiator. I'm in charge of this situation. I'm not taking orders from someone who thinks it's okay to tase a teenager in the back, said Uncle Bernie as he clambered over the barricade. The negotiator nodded at one of his subordinates, who fired off another taser. But Uncle Bernie was wearing a bulletproof vest, so the electrode darts bounced right off. He was soon inside and running through the store. Uncle Bernie found Friday right down the back, near the changing room. Look at this, said Friday. There was a large hole cut in the marble floor and 10 mobile phones sitting on the ground around it. Bernie carefully picked up one of the phones. What is this? What's going on? Ian had caught up with them. He was still twitching a bit from being tasered, but otherwise all right. They've disappeared underground, said Friday. But we're already underground, said Ian. How much lower can they go? From here, they can go down into the sewers, said Friday. Oh, gross, said Ian. No, it's genius, said Friday. The Paris sewers mimic the streets above the ground exactly. They could go anywhere from here. She sat down on the floor and swung her legs into the hole. What are you doing? Asked Ian. Going after them, said Friday. All right, that's a good point to stop. So we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed the story, as I said, this is Friday Barnes' Last Chance, which is the 11th book in the series, and you can read it for yourself. It's available on Amazon, everywhere you can buy books online, or from your local bookshop if you're in Australia. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. It's really weird when you write something like, because I wrote that several years ago, and then, when the real Louvre Heist happened a couple of weeks ago, it's really strange because I did so much research and I got all these books on the Louvre and I studied the floor plan of the Louvre. So when I was seeing the news articles, I knew exactly where they were talking about and how it would have worked. And I knew that if you look... I'm talking about the real Louvre heist now, where they broke in through the window, was directly across the river from police headquarters. So, it's fun when real life starts to imitate, they say art, but really just the silly story I made up myself. So anyway, if you want to check out more and find out about the Louvre in Paris, I've been to Paris several times. So that book was fun to write because I'd already done all the research. So it features... the Musée d'Orsay, and they're talking about the streets around Paris and all around the Louvre and what it's like. So if you want to get a feel for Paris and the Louvre and the art crime world, check out that book. All right, that's it for now. Until next time, goodbye. Hello, it's me again. If you enjoyed listening to Bedtime Stories with R.A. Spratt, it would be really helpful if you could like, subscribe, follow, and or review the show on whatever podcast platform you're listening to now. Every little one of those digital affirmations helps, and the bigger this podcast gets, the more I can justify procrastinating from my real job to keep bringing these stories to you. Thank you.